It was like 10 o'clock, like they said, and we seen these boats all coming in and then helicopters, and we're at the bridge area, and this is where the bulk of their operation was. They managed to close off every entrance on the reserve, and they had cop cars piled all the way up there. So really there was no movement, there was nothing happening. My father was chief, and he received a phone call from the Premier of Quebec at that time, which was Rainy Levesque. He was warned, you have till 10 o'clock in the morning to haul out all your nets, because if you don't, you will feel the full force of the law. When it happened, it was such a event, that it changed the history of Listuguj, really.
Everybody fished. It was a big hub in the community. You drive down the road, you see people getting their nets ready and whatnot, and you ate salmon all summer. Of course, there was the raid that happened in 1981. If you were here, you were a part of it. You felt it, you seen it. Everything stopped except for that event that happened.
When they left, and managed to arrest at least 11 of our people, for different charges, obstruction and different things. As a protest, we went out again and fished again. 2 weeks later, there was another raid, and my father was in Vancouver at that time, attending a conference. He managed to convince a plane load of chiefs to come and support us over here. So the movement started, and the people rallied around it, and we managed to start fighting back. So, without guns or different things, but, we used a lot of our heavy equipment at that time and blocking roads and just saying, well, that's enough. We took enough of this. This isn't going to happen in Listuguj whatsoever again. That was the start of us really thinking really, really hard of what do we want to do with these fisheries, this salmon fisheries in our traditional territory.
I think they fully understand First Nations have a different relationship with the salmon, that it's not just an economic, it's not just social, it's a total relationship. Because you'll even hear, I don't speak my language, but you'll hear people who would not find it strange to say that the salmon is my brother, that type of relationship.
Salmon had always been a part of Mi'kmaq culture and heritage. We want to develop our own management plan, and we want to decide how the resource is going to be managed and what conservation efforts we would take.
You look at what it is that you need to achieve and then work your way back and set out a plan for that. So that, first step was for us to inform the community, what our objective was, and then to begin the process of sharing that information as it continually came up. And then the element of government came into the picture. So then then the formalization of the documents began to happen over a period of time. There's a risk of a conflict. There's a risk of change is not always that welcome, as we all know in communities. So you've got to handle it very carefully. You've got to have the people understand what it is that we're trying to achieve, and then from there, then you can have a good, grounded, on-the-ground conversation with the community. And once we had a really good sense of where the community wanted to go, inside the process, which resulted in an agreement. And so the agreement then became a tool and an instrument. It wasn't the end-all, be-all, because all of the the framework around the agreement was discussed and developed and agreed to by the community. And that was really the important piece of any agreement. That was the centerpiece, as opposed to, the agreement being, the document that we all had to, concede to.
It was good to assert our jurisdiction, knowing that we had Aboriginal and treaty rights behind us.
The decision doesn't come from top down. Decisions are made from the grassroots up. The community basically instructs leadership what its needs are, and at that time it was the salmon fishery. The existing enforcement agencies were making criminals out of people who were just basically exercising the right to fish and couldn't stand for that anymore. So we said, we need to assert ourselves. How do we assert ourselves? Let's develop our own fishing management plan with salmon, and we'll implement it. As a result of that, government recognized, yes, it was sound, and really didn't have much choice but to buy into it.
After the first year, we realized that if we really wanted to do this right, we have to have trained personnel to see if there was any interest in some of them being trained as rangers.
The whole point of having the rangers, though, was to handle disputes with outside agencies like MLCP, DFO, and non-native fishers who were, I guess, were not happy that we continued to fish. And that's the whole purpose, was they were there to protect us. Their role has somewhat changed. Yes, they do have to remind the fishers that we have a management plan, and that here are the rules, and there are those who don't comply.
There was a section of the law where it said, if you lose your net once, fine, you'll get it back. If you do it again, you lose it forever. If you're still doing it, you will not be allowed to fish anymore. And these were the laws that were accepted by our people, and we had to implement them. So the rangers were responsible for that.
It's dealt with that way, rather than make a criminal out of someone who's practicing their right to fish.
When you have the non-native beginning to acknowledge that the rangers and the First Nation government, being the Listuguj Mi'kmaq government, could actually take on that responsibility and manage it well, effectively, respect the the environment, the ecology, the science, the data management. The non-native community then begins to realize that, yeah, this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing.
People are becoming more familiar with our presence in the industry. We need to assert ourselves more, not just in the water, but at the tables, at the advisory tables we attend, at the science stock review meetings we attend. And we need to always be reminding people that we do have an inherent right, and we're here to exercise our right. And when we look at reductions in quotas, and the only thing that comes first is conservation. And our Aboriginal right, we need to be consulted if changes are being made.
When it comes time to challenge in what's not right, our people over here in Listuguj are ready to act. It's our people that are in charge of administering our laws in the waters.
It's been very interesting to see the evolution of something that was started in the 80s and how it's evolved into what it is today.
As far as I can remember, government, society has said, no, the Indian can't. They can't do that. No, they don't know how. They don't have the resources. They don't have the know-how. Well, we've proven them wrong. We have a management plan that works, that was recognized and won awards. We have a management plan for salmon that has sustained our people since its implementation. We have a salmon management plan that we're ready to review again and make changes to and use the same processes. The fact that we still have many of our core values as Mi'kmaq is testament to it's going to work.
After 40, 50 years, we should have been always involved in commercial fisheries. We should have always been involved in salmon fisheries. We should have always been involved in forestry. It took a Supreme Court ruling in Marshall to finally allow the Mi'kmaq in the Atlantic and Eastern Quebec to finally, have our fair share in the fisheries.
We still have rights to the resources. We should be able to access them, and we should be able to live off the land like everybody else.
We can't rely on the Department of Indian Affairs any longer. Any First Nation that wants to thrive and survive has to be able to build an economic foundation so that we can have a future for our younger generation.
In this community, we have a management plan, we have a law, we have a history, we have a record on how we've developed it. Come and talk to us, ask us, for input and share our information and share how we, rose from the ashes, if you will, under the thumb of government, and now we have, something that we can be very, very, proud of, because it's community-based, it's community-driven, and it takes on a responsibility of its own.
We have to continue making our own laws in order for us to be successful.
You need to educate the youth more so that they know exactly what they're working towards or what they're fighting towards, or not even just knowing, being inspired to learn more, go out there and find out more.